everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Raw Water Podcast. Today, we're joined by our regular favorites, Jacob and Kaspar, who are back to discuss the two kind of first state visits of the new Danish king and queen, starting off with the state visit to Sweden, which was at the start of this month. And it's been quite something that we've been looking forward to for the past couple of weeks. But how were kind of your overall thoughts on this, and how was it different from your expectations on what it turned out to be?
Would you want to go first, Jacob? Then I will follow.
Yes. No, my one thought I had was that it's everyone involved, King Harald and King Carl Gustav and King Frederik, they all stressed family bonds. They all stressed how I think it was Frederik who started by stressing that a monarch is nothing without his family. We are nothing without those behind us, which ties very well into the what he wrote in his royal the book, the royal
The first version thing.
The one called Konge, or a king's word, where he said that his reign will not be his reign, it will be the reign of him and his wife. And I really liked that it was a red thread through both the visits. And another thing I thought about was that it's quite obvious that even though the three families all seem to be very close, it's the Swedish visit was much more formal than the Norwegian visit. And I think that has well to do with and I think that must have to do with the personalities of the people involved,
especially
King Carl Gustav and his wife Sylvia.
It was especially noted in the way the kings greeted each other. Like in Sweden, it was very formal, and in Norway, it was with a kiss. Yes.
And I mean, I've always noticed that everyone who is around King Harald is always laughing. I mean, we've even seen Queen Elizabeth laugh her heart out, but around King Carl Gustav, he seems like a very, very nice man, but he's very conservative. He's formal. And I know that Queen Margrethe once said that she thought that the Swedish court was a bit too grand. And if she says it, it really has to be that.
But that's also what we have in the history from the brothers of Queen Ingrid, what they said, like when they got married and they were thrown out of the families. And like there's a strict protocol and everything, like... It cheered up more over the years, but there is still some protocol.
Yes.
But what I liked about
No, sorry, you go.
What I liked about the visit is like the topics also, like, as you said, it's their reign. It's those interests that will come through, like sustainability, and that they go and visit the universities and see the different programs that to give some awareness. And they were also followed by some secretaries of states and which are involved in these programs. And then that they came sailing on Dannebroge, that was a very nice thing in both countries. And I very much like the way that Victoria and Daniel received them, with courtesy and kisses. And then they were almost done. Then they went back and gave them another hug and kiss. And then they were ready to go to the little Royal Swedish chalup, the Vasa. So it was
Yeah.
very heartfelt.
Oh, definitely.
And I think I think that that difference was very noticeable, because I think we well, I personally at least, we always tend to bundle the three Scandinavian monarchies and the three Scandinavian courts together. And it was very evident this time that when it comes to scale and grandeur and
The
the
protocol.
Swedes, yes, the Swedes really like to put on a show.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was, and also,
yeah.
Also, sorry if I go on, I also think it was, I mean, I've been a royal watcher all my life, but we rarely get to see these in-house parts of a state visit that we did this time, that we were allowed to see this time. So we could see the royal processions inside the palace, and the I think it was the royal guard who who released a video where they had filmed the processional route inside the palace from the Hall of State inside the royal apartments, that the royals took a few minutes later. And it's just, there are soldiers everywhere, there are courtiers, and their uniforms are the uniforms worn by the soldiers are 300 years old, and they're made of elk skin. And it's just room after room after room, and it's massive. I mean, it's so grand that it's
we have
almost
both.
overpowering.
You have also been visiting Stockholm Castle, isn't that right?
Yes.
And I've also been there, and it is extremely grand. So it was about time that we finally saw a live program to follow one of these state occasions. Because, like in Denmark, I mean, the royal family just have to burp or fart, then everything is in TV a whole day. Like, if to make fun of it, if there's a birthday or a special occasion, like today, there's Royal Run, and it has been in the TV the whole day because it's followed by the people. So I always wondered why they didn't do that in Sweden. Well, we see the noble dinner, but we don't see the king's dinner the day after. So it was very pleasant. I was so happy to see it.
Yes, and we got to see rooms that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
And they are not just small dark rooms. They are, I mean, you could lose my apartment in one of them. Not find it. And I also now that as I was speaking, I remembered something that Lady Pamela Hicks once said, that the Royal Palace in Stockholm is so large that you could lose Buckingham Palace in it.
And she would.
I mean, she's been to both places a lot of times, so she should know.
Exactly.
What I thought was funny about the table setting is that I was laying a flat bread on the plate, this knäckebröd, which is a Swedish tradition where you normally see a little baguette, and that was it's some typical Swedish, but it was just fun to see.
I'm not sure, but I know that at the king's plate there's always a hard-boiled egg.
Okay.
Yes, and that's because King Carl XIV Johan, the first member of the Bernadotte family, he was quite paranoid. He was afraid of being poisoned.
Okay.
And he said he always wanted an egg because he said you can't poison eggs. And I'm not sure if the hard bread is always a part of that. But you're right; they always have a hard bread.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
Instead of
if,
another piece of bread.
Very special tradition.
yeah. But
Yeah.
when I saw Queen Sylvia, I have seen a close up of her dress with a pattern. It's extremely beautiful and very bold color. It was so nice to see.
And it was a great
And
contrast with Queen Mary's color.
yes, it was a good match to that because I couldn't see she had a brooch on because she had this black cloak on, but
Yeah.
she was wearing this sapphire brooch that she got from the Queen when she gave birth to the Crown Prince.
Yeah, no, I found it very special that both Victoria was wearing a brooch and then Mary chose this brooch, which again has a very special connection to Sweden. So it made sense. This is
Yes.
probably one of her best dresses in the past couple of years. So I'm glad that she chose to repeat this in addition to the other repeats she made during the visit.
So there's a lot of history in it, of course, which we also see in the jury in the evening.
And then one of the things that I thought was a bit different, considering how kind of state visits have been done in the past, that it was all very formal and this daytime at the arrival ceremony and the guard of honor and the stuff at the palace. And then when they moved on, it was the hats were off, the uniforms were off, and it was slightly like less formal. And you can see here that Mary's wearing the pin of the Order of the Seraphim, which she had just received, and then the Swedish king and queen are wearing their elephant pins.
Yes.
So I found
So
that nice.
it had a notch of something regal, but it was toned down.
Yeah. So I found that very interesting, and we'll discuss it when you get to Norway as well, that it's kind of different than what it has been in kind of other state visits. But then this is the first time we're seeing the new king and queen and how they're conducting these visits. So it's always something nice to observe and to take note of.
Yes.
Yeah, and then let's get to the main part, which was that banquet. And I think with the Finnish state visit that Sweden hosted a couple of weeks ago, that was one of the first time that I can remember that we got a live feed up until the royals greeting the guests. And I wonder if they were kind of setting the stage for this because that was, I think, very interesting aspect of the whole thing that we were able to get that live feed where usually we just get the pictures and nothing else from these sorts of things.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I
We
found
got one for we got one for the Spanish state visit, but that
yeah,
was
that was
on account
Spanish.
that was because of the Spanish, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was also a different room, if I remember correctly, or probably
But
different.
one thing that was also very interesting here that both in Sweden and in Norway that the king and queen were staying overnight at the Royal Yacht Dannebro. They didn't live at the royal
Yeah.
castle.
Yeah.
And I think that it was in the same room actually, because the king and queen, the kings and queens, no, sorry, weren't they greeted in like today? Weren't the Spanish, the Spanish state visit, weren't they also greeted in another room?
Yeah, I think they were.
First?
Because I remember it was a longer room because all the royal family was standing beside them. And there wasn't enough space in this room for that to happen.
Mm-hmm. Which is quite strange because the room that the kings and queens were in this time was Vita havet, the White
Yes.
Sea, which is
Yeah.
well, it's so big that they call it the sea.
Instead,
So I mean, there wasn't room for all of them.
Yeah. No, it's
Vita
interesting
havet.
kind of observation and the fact that we're able to get an inside glimpse. But now let's move on to the important things, which is the tiaras. And I mean, what were your first thoughts? Because I was underwhelmed because we were expecting a lot more from both Sylvia and Mary.
I,
And it
I
was lovely, but not
I
what.
agree. But
I
looking at it
I
now, I think it's beautiful. But on the day, I was a bit disappointed because I know that Mary has been wearing these rubies since she was a crown princess, but now I expected to see some of the new things that she can wear from the Danish Løsøre Fideikommis, this family foundation, and I expected to see the pearls, the pearl poire.
Same
But
here.
I also get that she was wearing these the ruby parure, some of it. Not she took the lower scale of it, but it was like, it was the Danish colors
Oh,
that
definitely.
when as it was said in the history.
Documentary.
Yeah,
But I
I must
thought
say that
perhaps,
I must say that I got what I expected. I
yeah,
expected her to wear the rubies, and I didn't. If she was going to wear the rubies, Queen Sylvia wasn't going to wear the Braganza.
Yes. That is what I think.
So
There was some coordination here where they decided not to wear the biggest stuff.
yes, and as Kaspar said that the Danish colors,
Yeah. No, I
as
think
as it said in Queen Josephina's will, Danish colors for Lovisa.
yes. And now we saw the order with in the Brazilian frame where she has her husband's miniature portrait in it. It's
yes.
painted by an English man, as far as I know. But those big diamonds, it comes
It
from
is spectacular.
Brazil and has been in Sweden. Now it's in Denmark, and now it was back in Sweden. It was nice to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, definitely. I know it's a lovely kind
What
of
would the Danes do without Sweden?
that's a conversation we have often,
Yes.
that they'd have nothing. In terms of gowns, this is not my favorite one on Queen Sylvia. And the fact that Mary butchered what was an absolutely stunning gown before then is not necessarily my favorite thing. But I think now that it's been a couple of days, I'd like the looks for what they are rather than what I expected.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
I'm
but
learned to
I
accept that.
think I think the pictures that they took of Queen Mary in the long dining hall, I don't know the name of the hall, but it was with the flowers and the mirror in the back. It was beautiful. It really, she looked very regal there.
Definitely. Yeah. So I think
It's
overall,
called
and
it's called
yes,
It's
no,
called what?
sorry, you.
Sorry.
the Vita.
It's called the Gallery of Carl the 15th.
Oh, okay, the gallery. Yeah, it's very long.
Yeah, no, it is, and it's like they in the Royal Palace Stockholm, they have two banquet halls, so they have that which they use for the Nobel dinners and stuff, and then for the really big occasions they use the big main one where they had the Jubilee dinner last year.
Is
So
that
Yes, the whole of state.
yeah, okay.
they are spoiled for choice.
It's nice.
Yeah, so
And
and then
they could, I mean, there are other rooms they could use as well, but
definitely, yeah.
I have to say that Victoria, she was wearing one of my favorite tiaras, the Connaught tiara. I really love it.
Oh, same here, and I think that in my eyes, I know some people didn't like this gown, but I thought it was really stunning, and it suited her
I
very well.
liked it too. I liked it too.
Yeah, but
Oh,
on the back she had that big opal brooch, which we
Mm,
discussed a couple of months ago, and you said that she'd be wearing everywhere, and so she has.
I mean, she's listening to me. Oh, but
and
she
Jacob, you
always
are the one
finds.
who weren't you the one who found the provenance of it that has been used before?
Yes, it was Jacob who
Yes,
found it
Yeah.
I
for
found it
Princess
on a
Villa.
photo of Princess Sibylla from, was it Ingrid and
Ingrid's wedding.
Frederick's wedding?
Wow.
Yeah.
I love these treasure hunts. It's so cool.
No, it
Yes,
definitely.
and then the Norwegian guy, Trond Norén Isaksen, he found that it had belonged to Grand Duchess Louise of
Yes,
Baden.
yes.
And I remember saying in our chat when we were looking for it, when I was looking for the photos, that I had a hunch that it had belonged to Queen Sophia or Grand Duchess Louise, and I was right.
Yes, because it does have that kind of heavy Victorian look rather than the Bernadotte jewels that came from Queen Josephina. It doesn't really have that Napoleonic look. It's
But it's
Yes,
quite funny to see with that tiara because the tiara is in this light garland style. Is it like Edwardian? And then you see this lump of brooch. But when you see the brooch close up, I like it. I like the details.
it is a stunning piece. Yes. No,
And
definitely one of them.
it's quite large to have at the back of your dress.
Yes, yes. It's just to hold the order. They normally, or the sash, and they normally have a little brooch, but yeah.
Yes. I don't think that I mean, it must be because that the Dannebrog, no, sorry, the elephant is worn on the other side, on the other shoulder, because
Yes.
otherwise you wouldn't use the family order to fasten the
Yes, that's
sash.
the Danish way, is that because it's worn on the other side. They
Yeah.
wear that she did the same thing when they attended Christian's birthday.
We
And
have to do
I
it the
think if
opposite
you
here.
remember well that Victoria wore the sash the wrong direction and then Queen Daisy made
Yes,
it.
she did, and
Yeah,
then she quickly changed it.
Yeah.
because he took it the Swedish way. Yeah.
So, and I feel that if she had worn the brooch in front, it would have looked very lovely with the enamel of the elephant.
Yeah.
And I think it's
Yeah.
also worth pointing out that Prince Daniel received the elephant on the state visit, which was really the major order exchange. So I think that's very special for him to get that.
It is.
Yeah.
We still don't know which elephant that he got, like who did it belong to in the past. It's not always that they tell it, but we know that last year when the crown prince turned 18 and he got his elephant, we know that his elephant usually belonged to Prince Henrik, his grandfather.
Yeah,
And then you see that the change on the logo on the
yes, the monogram
underneath
of the monarch.
the tower on Daniel's elephant, it has FX like Frederik X.
Yeah, so it's even more special for him.
I think isn't he the first one to receive?
I believe he is. Yes.
Because the one Christian got has his grandmother's monogram because she was queen at that time.
Yeah.
That'll be more special later on. There'll be less and less of those. And then let's move on to Carl Philip and Sophia. I thought Carl Philip would receive the elephant because he is Queen Daisy's godson and all that, but he did not. And I mean, Sophia, nothing important to talk about. And then with Princess Christina, I remember you guys were messaging on the live on our chat that she's wearing the 4 button, and that's the moment I knew that Victoria's wearing the Connaught because it was not going to be the anything else on the Connaught, but on Christina, then it means the Connaught's being worn by Victoria.
But isn't it interesting that Sophia is not getting a lesser order from Denmark?
Yeah, I mean they
I
don't
think
exchange that.
Well,
no,
Yeah, they don't do it for the
and
royals, only for the court officials and stuff.
which
okay.
is quite strange. But I seem to think there seemed to have been a new way of thinking in the European courts that lesser royals don't get as many. They are more conservative with
Okay.
The orders.
handing out orders than they used to be. Because I remember people have been talking about how the Windsors have always been, they haven't been as generous as the other European monarchies.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now it seems that there seems to be a new trend that all or most of the courts are just as
Reserved with
they're
their
not as generous anymore.
Okay.
Yes. So
But it
it
was
seems
nice
to
to
be
see
that
that
it's only the
I was happy to see that Christina was participating, but she's like normally present, but she's also the only of the King's sisters participating, and she got her elephant order back in, was it 73?
Yes, because she was the first lady of Swedish court at the time, and so she got the elephant.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
interestingly enough, when we get to Norway, Princess Astrid doesn't have the elephant order, but
Oh, she doesn't.
she doesn't, but
And
Princess Martha Louise does.
and Astrid was the first lady of Sweden for many years between her mother's death and until
But in
Crown Prince
73,
Sarah.
they did give it
Sonia.
to Sonia. So, I mean, Daisy probably just gave it to her as the first lady. And
yeah,
Astrid.
and I seem to remember that Astrid's first state visit, the first state visit she took part in, went to Denmark.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think
Actually,
so.
the first one she actually took part in was with her grandfather, and that was in 1951 to the UK.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And there's pictures of her. I think that's the first time she wore the um, Vasa tiara. The
Yeah.
Ah, okay,
blood thing.
okay.
And
Because
then after
because
that, she did go to Denmark with,
yes,
I believe, King
because
Olaf in
yes,
58.
because I remember her. I can't remember if I read that she said it, or I saw a clip of her saying it, but that she came to Denmark, everything was new to her. She missed her mother a lot, and um, that Ingrid was very, very good at showing her how to do things.
And yeah,
Okay.
that's
In the
lovely.
same way that Queen Sylvia has said that
Ingrid.
Queen Ingrid also
Yeah.
was very good at guiding her, showing her the ropes.
Well, that must be so special for them to kind of gain from her expertise.
Yeah.
Mm.
So let's move on to the next one, which was day
We
two.
we
And
we, we just missed one thing here. We didn't discuss Sophia's tiara. I know there's not a lot to discuss, but
yes,
it's
I mean,
it's just her
yeah,
wedding tiara, and it's cute in its own way. But it had was it the
topaz.
topazes or
Yeah.
aquamarines? Yeah.
I think this is
So
the entire outfit she wore to Nobel 2 years ago. And actually, I
yeah.
think I copied the description, same thing from that 2 years ago. I didn't even change a single thing there. All the
Well,
links were the same. It didn't change anything. So a
and
bit,
now it's set, and we can go on.
yes. I mean, it was. She did have new earrings though. They looked interesting. They're different from the ones that they've worn in the past. So,
Yeah.
but otherwise, nothing of note, really.
Yeah. But she looked beautiful.
She did look lovely, yeah. And then on the next day, we had a bunch of repeats. I really like that Mary wore this dress again with her modern flower brooch, which you can't see here. But Victoria wore the dress that she wore at King Charles's coronation, and that was, I believe, the 1 year anniversary of the coronation on this day. So it was a nice kind of parallel to that.
Like mother and daughter in these pastels.
Yes.
Uh, I like the idea that Queen Mary has these what do you say,
The
frog panels
capes.
on
Yeah.
capes, but I was not happy with the colors
Yeah, it's a very
because
Maxima look, but I
I
think,
I, I like them for autumn, but I thought this was spring, so I needed some more. But I was happy to see that she was wearing this Lyngård gold brooch with
yeah,
diamonds underneath. It's a modern one,
exactly.
but she has worn it in Sweden before. I
Yeah, in
think
her
in her
hair.
hair. Yeah.
Yes. No, it is one of those really special, lovely pieces, and I'm glad that you said it because I was going to butcher that pronunciation. So, yeah, no. Overall, lovely kind of way to see day two. And then the last thing we have is the return reception on the Royal Yacht Danaborg, and then
It,
this kind of
it
farewell.
was quite funny, a little in and out, and then we go down to the boat, and then we go up to the castle, and then we drive away. It's
It was a bit too much, I think, from a security view, like probably a
yeah,
lot of coordination and moving everything. And I this is part of one of those type of things where I like the concept of a return event. But it just kind of felt a bit underwhelming. It wasn't like what you'd expect. Because in the past, there's always this sort of thing has always been a big grand white tie and tiara
I
banquet.
don't think we can expect any of these return events in the future to be
I
with
know.
tiaras and gala. I mean, it's a reception now. We have to accept it. I'm
I know.
so
Because if you remember, the last Swedish state visit to Denmark, they had three gala events, and you would think that this is basically the like most formal state visits that the Danish king and queen are going to do in their reign. And if these were so informal, it doesn't really give us much hope for the future,
no.
unfortunately. But otherwise, I loved seeing the family moments of everything, and it felt like a nice kind of send off. And I liked seeing them waving goodbye to the king and queen.
I have a huge respect for those the queen and the crown princess that they can wear so high heels
Oh yeah, it
up
must
and down
be
all those
so
stairs
difficult.
and
And the bow
holy
too.
moly.
Yeah.
But and
So
they look so at ease when they do it. It's
oh,
like they could run a marathon in them.
it's the training and probably
Yeah,
custom, which are cost more than our monthly rent.
it could be. Yeah.
Yeah. And so let's just kind of have a couple of minutes left in this recording. Let's just finish off what our final thoughts were on this state visit, especially this being the first state visit of the King and Queen of Denmark. And how do you think what elements did you think were celebrated as a family, and then what would you kind of like to see different, because they are still kind of learning the ropes here?
I think that it was actually all quite good. And the Danish king held a speech when he came, with where the Swedish king also had a speech,
Yes,
and that was quite nice. And then the speech in the evening was also very good. Was long, but with a lot of all these things he has to mention, but also the family and the close ties and their godparents to each other's kids and these different things. And they have to mention the war in Ukraine and sustainability, things like this. I think it went good.
definitely.
I can't remember how it's been in Denmark, but ever since the war against Ukraine, ever since Russia invaded Ukraine what is it, 2 years now? Two
Yes.
years ago now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to the
Ever
third
since
year.
that happened, the Swedish royal family has been very vocal in their support of the Ukraine. I think the king has mentioned Ukraine in his last two Christmas speeches, and um, they have, I think, once a month, the royal chapel in the royal palace is lent to the Ukrainian church. And I think Princess Sophia is a protector of that, and she's always there. And even her father has been he works he helps out during these events.
Okay.
So yes, so I think it's quite noticeable that they seem hell bent on this war not being forgotten.
Mm.
Yeah, no, it's very obvious.
Uh, and they, of course, do it with government approval because otherwise they wouldn't say
No, of
it.
course
But
not.
it's quite noteworthy, I think.
Definitely. And I think that's a great way to end this episode. And we'll catch up with you next time when we talk about Norway.